Well, this is my 93 Ford Crown Victoria. And those rear shocks are just totally blown, which I'm not happy about because I replaced them in late 2016. So they're 3.5 years old, and they were not bottom of the line shocks either. Those are now worse than the ones I took off of it. And the rear shocks on this generation Crown Vic are extremely difficult to get to on the top part of the shock tower. So I'll probably film some of that when I get underneath it. Check this out. This is the bottom of those shocks. Both sides, literally dripping down as I'm looking at it. And you can tell up here these shocks aren't that old. Like I said, I put them in 3.5 years ago. You can see the hardware still looks new and the paint looks good. And they're both totally blown. And these Crown Vics of this generation, you know, the bottom bolt's obviously no problem. This top one is a major pain in the butt because you have to go through accessing it in here to get way over there to get to that nut on top, and you got very little room and very little movement. Some guys go as far as to go into the trunk and just cut an access hole in the floor of the trunk above this support so they can just get right to the nut. I really don't want to compromise my vehicle any that way, but I can understand them going through that extreme. But yeah, I'm disappointed in these shocks. When I get them out, we'll see if I can find the brand name on them. Because I know I didn't get the, you know, the $10 specials. These weren't the high-end ones, but they weren't the cheapies either. Heavy car needs all the help it can get. Okay. Okay, I got the first one off. And the funny thing is, even though the hydraulics have leaked out of it, it still has some of the gas charge in it. I'm looking for the manufacturer. I found it was made in USA. I don't see a manufacturer's name. I guess maybe the part number might help identify it. It says 33128. Over here, P201Y. Kind of funny they didn't want to identify it. Huh. Pulling this one out wasn't as bad as when I did the OEM ones. I'll show you what I did. These haven't been on here all that long. The upper nuts aren't all corroded up, so what I did is I snuck the wrench in, you know, through the access, and then held it in place and just gripped the outer housing here and unscrewed it from there. And that made it go a lot quicker than back when that nut was corroded on there. That's interesting. What junk shocks, man. Alright. Okay, these are the replacements I picked up. I'm not familiar with KYB, but these are supposedly the high performance ones. Since standard brand didn't do me any good, because I'm sure I bought Monroe or something like that, a brand I know, but that failed me. I went ahead and spent the extra coin on the performance version. Like I said, the big car needs all the help it can get anyway. Hardware. At least they're not afraid to identify it. Okay, first one down. Yeah, definitely went a lot better this time around than the last time I did it. These are the strongest gas shocks I've ever seen. I've never had a problem before, you know, when you have to compress it to get it to hold the line up and get the bolt in place. This one I almost couldn't do. I really had to muscle this up to get that in there. I was amazed. Hopefully I'm not making this car going from driving like a boat to driving like a tank. But it'll probably be alright. Okay, now for number 2. Okay, number 2 done. Guess I should do the front ones now. I did buy all 4, so I'd have a matching set on the car. As far as I know, the front ones are still holding up. I used this ratcheting wrench for the top on putting the new shocks on, because I didn't want to traumatize any seals by twisting the housing to spin the nut like I did to get the old ones off. So I just played it safe and used this ratcheting one, and that was a help too. So all in all, not too bad. Now the bounce is all gone. It's even sitting higher. I sure hope I didn't overdo it. Okay, these front ones are fairly standard for any rear-wheel drive vehicle. It's just the one nut on the top and then the 2 bolts at the bottom, and they'll drop out. Somewhere in the near future, I'm going to be pulling this engine out of this car and do a tear down and reseal, because she is leaking quite a bit of oil. I have to feed it somewhat regularly. Okay, let's see. We got the top nut out. See, these are still dry. As far as I know, they're fine. But since I put high performance on the rear, I just wanted to match the whole set. Well, maybe they're not fine. Looks like it's lost the gas charge. It's not coming out at all. Pretty sure they were gas shocks. Huh. Well, maybe it is a good thing I'm doing all of them. Yeah, when I did that second one in the rear, I paid a closer attention to getting it in, and I literally had to get real close to it and then use both hands to shove it up so I can get it bolted in. Amazingly strong. Like I said, I hope this thing doesn't drive like a truck now. We'll find out. I don't know if you can see with that shadow, but that right there is the top stud of that shock. That's the new one. Here's the driver's side I haven't done yet. There we go. So really easy access to it in the engine bay here. So yeah, the front ones are pretty easy. Okay, I just pulled the left side one off. And it is definitely a gas charged shock. Which means that the passenger side one was blown. It didn't have any leakage, but it didn't have the gas charge anymore either. So that means I only had one good shock on the whole car. So obviously it is a good thing I'm changing these front ones too. These front shocks were made in Malaysia. The rear one's Japan. Considering how quickly the American ones failed me, I'm not too concerned about that. I know I'm not a big fan of these shocks that don't have an upper dust housing where the rod just goes straight into it. But again, those other ones failed me, so hopefully these will be more reliable and I won't be doing this in 3.5 years again. Okay, it's done. Got all 4 done in one afternoon, which is way better than I expected after the last time. Because if it was like the last time, I would have just done the rear and waited for later for the front. So all that's left now is a test drive and hope it doesn't drive like a freight shaker. So thanks for watching. It's been about 3 days since I did the shock swap out, so I figured I'd post my findings and observations with these high performance shocks. One, I do feel a little more road feedback than the car used to give me. Obviously originally it was geared for luxury and not performance, and it's not objectionable, it's not real significant. Maybe might not have even noticed it had I not been looking for it, since I knew I swapped the shocks out. It does corner better. I took it on a windy road, and you know, a big car like this tends to try to roll over to one side or the other when you take turns. It really didn't. For a big, what some people would call a boat, it stuck to the road pretty good. So I'm happy with it. They work well. Hopefully in 3.5 years I won't be doing this again. I did look up those numbers on those other shocks. Sadly, they were Monroe's. So Monroe did not make a good shock. 3 out of 4 failed in 3.5 years. Anyway, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching.